Remember before the world was ending, and like I had my best friend, sorry, my good friend, the coffee machine.
I knew it. I knew it was your best friend. I've always known.
Well, no, I left it behind. It's now
Oh,
somewhere else. I don't care. I don't care about it anymore. I don't think about it. I don't dream about it either. And 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 like I'm back to like working from home, and like I've realized that like the more I work from home, like the more that I talk to just things that aren't conscious. Like that's what I do now. Like, thank God I play guitar and a little bit of piano because I can be like, nice. And I'm not saying that because what I played was nice. I'm just saying that because I need to talk. I need to communicate with the outside world.
this is a socially acceptable way of verbalizing.
That would be the name of my album.
Hey everybody, Sadie here. I just wanted to give you a quick intro before we get into this episode, since it's pretty different from the kind of content we usually put up here. This is a Rose and Blake episode. It's just me and Elliot. We are still working on getting the band back together, as it were. But obviously there's a lot going on in people's lives right now. So we will be back with Okot, Jorix, Gus, and Burke sometime in the very near future. Just not quite yet. But we didn't want to leave you hanging. So Elliot and I got together and just sort of talked about like the stuff that's going on and what we think about it. And that's what this episode is. I would like to note to any listeners who may be sensitive to this or just don't want to listen to it right now, we do discuss Black Lives Matter, and we do discuss some of the more horrible things that have been done by the police to people. So, if you're not in a space to listen to that sort of stuff right now, I totally get it. Come back later or catch us next time. We're planning to do a couple of these, hopefully. So, no harm, no foul. We'll catch you on the next one. But if you are interested in listening, then here we are, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
And so yeah, it's just becoming like I'm talking to more things, like just you know. I do you have an air fryer?
No, we keep thinking about one, and then we watched a YouTube series of a guy making increasingly ridiculous things in an air fryer and being disappointed that they were not supposed to be fried to begin with, like French toast. And I think that took the shine off it for us.
Oh man, it was one of the first things I bought when I moved up here, and like I've been fucking using it like a demon. Like it's just so convenient. Like I'm just like, what do I want? I just want like a veggie hamburger. I don't want to fucking pan fry it. I don't want to do anything like that. I just want to stick it in a dumb thing, turn on a timer, and then like have a ding. And it comes out grilled, and it's the best way that I found to reheat pizza. And so it's just like one of those things where I'm like making myself lunch, and then like ding, I was like, oh, you know how you get me, air fryer. You say those things I love to hear.
It's a little worrying that in this Pavlovian response, the air fryer is Pavlov.
Yeah. I mean, like, I can't, like, I've been trying to control the coffee machine for God knows how, the coffee grinder for God knows how long. Still hasn't yielded. Strong-willed, as all coffee machines have been, in my experience.
But secretly, I think that's why you admire them.
Oh,
The
no
coffee
doubt.
grinders.
Yeah, I mean,
Strong-willed.
like, strong-willed, doesn't need nothing from nobody. You put anything in it, you'll get smaller versions of that. Lots to admire.
Oh dear. That got weird fast.
I mean, like, I don't know how to communicate with people anymore. Like, I never did. It was rocky ground before, but like after fucking 4 months, woof. I mean, you and I was at your house for like 3 days, and like I think like I was just relearning how to communicate, and then fucking that was over.
Ugh.
Oh man, it's very sad. I had to buy a needle and thread because my pants had a hole in it, and I'm not gonna be able to fucking thread those needles, my friend. So I just bought a whole pack of. I'm like, hey, idiots! Are you? Can you not afford to buy pants? But you need, but you can't sew the holes that you have. Here you go.
We did the hard part for you.
No, they did. I was like, oh, you did do the hard part for me. So I have like
Amazing.
white. I have what, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I have 10 different needles with like just a scant amount of thread connected to it, and they come in different colors. Like I have tan here. I'm not gonna fucking use tan. White, that's not gonna happen. Like I have already exhausted the two that I need. Black.
I don't know. I feel like white thread on black insert article of clothing here, because they're all black, could make a nice like DIY punk aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something that I can follow there. But like, I also don't want to do it on my crotch because like I'm like, that's too punk. So,
yeah. So, God, about life.
Yeah, about life. Okay. Here's been my biggest takeaways from this, right?
Okay.
And I sent Sadie this to via I think Facebook Messenger, which is that that little clip from 538 about like why young people don't trust any sorts of institutions of power, which is that ever since we have come of age, the government has failed us on multiple levels, be it 9/11, the recession, the Great Recession,
It was
the
not
invasion
that great.
It was
Just
would not recommend, but I feel like we're getting a second chance at doing it again.
Yeah, maybe it'll be better this time.
Oh God,
Yeah.
second time's a charm, right? That's not at all the same.
Nope.
But like, coming of age, we had
Yeah.
Columbine, we had 9/11, then we had the war in Iraq where the government directly lied to us about WMDs, then we had the Great Recession, which not so great in retrospect, and while we were living through it, we've had something that we've been told that is necessary for our lives to make money and not be indebted forever is to get a college degree, and that's
clearly worked out.
Yes, and that's increased in price. Like I think, like 300%,
300% or 400%. Yeah,
right.
Like, I mean, there used to be a time in this country where you could put yourself through college on a part-time job, job.
Mm-hmm.
Like
exactly.
Unimaginable.
We have also we came out of those things, and we have had a constant drumbeat of black men and women being killed, and it being an event because now we have video recorders in our pockets, and we see that on the news, and we always say there's going to be change, that it was a great tragedy that happened to these people. However, blah blah blah, platitude, nothing happens. And then
or outright racism, platitudes at best.
That's a really good point. Or just do what the cops stop resisting.
Right, yeah. Oh, well, if only XYZ and ABC, if only they did this impossible thing that they probably already fucking did, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm. And then we've had the Pulse shootings, and then 2016 happens, and immediately things are done things are done that don't jive, and I'm speaking generationally right now, that by and large, the younger generation, of which, Sadie, all the WYD cast, we are all in that zone. We are all, thankfully, in the younger zone. And none of what they do is very popular because we happen to be the largest, most educated, weirdly not very rich, most educated and most... Yeah, strange. Most diverse generation in U.S. history, and as a part and parcel with that, that we also tend to be one of the most liberal generations in history, and not liberal in that we all vote Democrat, just that we don't have we are desperate to have.
I mean, that's really what we have fucking empathy, and they hate it. They hate it so much.
Yeah, and then you see things done like imprisoning children. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget that is still happening. That children are being treated so...
There are toddlers in cages right now.
Who are sleeping on cold concrete floors and are separated from their parents, and they will never see their parents again. Even after the judge decreed that it was illegal, the Department of Homeland Security didn't keep track, because of course they didn't. Another fucking failure in this fucking failed state. And look, I get it. I get how for some people, you go along to get along, right? Things have worked out. There's been trouble. There's been times of trouble before, but we've ridden it out. Silent majority, gotten through it. And for those people who have houses and and whom the American dream has worked in some way, great. I can see why you are fine with the way that things are, but I can tell you this: there is a whole generation of people whom it has not worked for, and I am telling you that I am so tired. Like, I get so angry sometimes, Sadie. Like, I think about remember that Dallas cop who goes into an apartment that's not hers. She sees the black man whose apartment she's in, takes out her gun and shoots him dead in his own house, right? And it was Amber Geiger who went into Botham Jean's apartment, and she shoots Botham Jean dead in his own apartment because for some reason she's out of it enough that she goes into somebody else's house, sees them in their house, and feels like they are a clear and present danger to her, and shoots him dead, right? And she gets to get sentenced, and she has due process. She makes it to court. She is not killed before that happens. Unlike Botham Jean, who was killed for being at home. He wasn't even on the street. He wasn't even acting like a quote-unquote thug. He was complicit in that he was in his house and being like, hey, what's up? Why are you here? And she fucking shoots him dead. And she gets to go to her fucking court date, and she gets to listen to his little brother talk about Botham and the man that he was. And it's a beautiful moment. And I think it's really wonderful. But I'm also furious at it. And here's why. He asks the judge, may I please give her a hug? And Botham Jean's younger brother gives this woman who killed his brother a hug. And the judge, who was black, also gives Amber Geiger a hug. And I'll tell you this much, okay? I get really fucking tired of the people who are victims of systemic racism always having to be the ones who open their arms and forgive the transgressions of the oppressor. Like, I get so fucking tired of it, because it's just like, why do you get to be here? Why do you get to shoot a man in his house and you get forgiveness? All his last moments were terror and confusion, but you get 10 years and you get forgiven. Like, that's not fucking fair. And I talk about that thing and I get heated up, and I know that's not something I normally do. And I'm not black. I'm...
What?
I know. Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm lucky in that I can kind of look like a lot of different races. One of the only races I can't look like is black. Because I am half Asian and half white, so I'm weird, like our friend called me, I look like I was from the future where everyone's intermixed. And I can tell you this much, like, sometimes it really fucking sucks when you are in a white room, and it sucks when you are in a high class white neighborhood and you're a guy who is into punk rock and dresses like if Jack and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas had a pumpkin headed kid.
Or dresses like a guy who's into punk rock. Really?
Yeah. Going there and like getting that nice little bit of like, what are you looking for? Oh, my friend's house. Where's your friend? They are in a house that is bigger than yours.
Yeah. That big one with the red trim that's definitely bigger than yours and has a better view. That's where they live. Bye. Bye-bye.
And like I have seen it happen with my mother. I have seen the way that people respond to a unmistakably brown woman, right? She is as Filipino can be because she is from the Philippines directly. She has
funny how
brown...
that works.
Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah.
And I always think about this. I think about how tiring it is. And Sadie, speaking as a woman, like, this, you certainly know this, but being transgressed against, and then for your own peace of mind, so you don't go crazy at the world, you have to forgive, or you have to at least make peace with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or not even for your own peace of mind, but in a lot of cases for your own survival. Because if you speak up, if you get salty, if you push back in any way, that's your ass on the line. And I say that not just as like the white lady with the incredible amount of privilege that I am, but like so much more so for Black and brown people, and especially Black and brown women. Like, I wonder if that younger brother forgave because he truly wanted to, in which case, God bless him. Like, that's a largeness of heart I can't begin to imagine. But it's also equally plausible to me that he forgave because he knew it would go easier on him if he did.
Yeah. there was a last Sunday's Seattle Times had a really good feature about victims of police brutality in the Washington area. And one of them was just so horrifying, which is this man divorced from his child's mother, has visitation rights, and he has the kid. And before, when they did the handoff, they had a disagreement. He was going through a depression because one of his close friends had died, right? And he was at home, and for some reason, the police were called on him, right? And so what they did was they set up a they set up a sniper, and they set up SWAT, because they were afraid that he was going to use the boy as a human shield. And they were doing negotiations at first, and the man was more than, he said, look, I don't want to cause any harm to I don't want to do anything that, I'm not here to I'm not here for one final grandstand and I'm going to use my son as a human shield. I don't know what this is. I'm going through something, but if it de-escalates the situation, of course, here is my son. I will, I will have my hands up, and you can go take him, and he can be on your side, and I just don't want to die. He didn't say that, but I can imagine that's what he was thinking.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
somebody threw a flashbang, right? As they were negotiating, a flashbang was thrown. And one of the people who were coming up, from the back, and the flashbang goes off, and the dad's first response is to put his arm around his son. Why?
Right.
Because he's trying to protect.
Dad.
Yes. Yeah. He is trying to protect his son from something that is happening. And as we have seen before, children can get killed if a flashbang goes off right in front of their goddamned head, because that has happened. Mm-hmm. And so he goes to protect his son from this flashbang that comes out of nowhere. He wasn't escalating. He was de-escalating. He was willing to give them his son. And that's when the sniper takes his shot. And the sniper's shot hits the man in the stomach, or head level of the child. The child sees his father get shot right in the stomach and collapse to the floor because he's just been shot by a sniper's bullet, right? The sniper took his shot because he thought the man was going to harm his son, not at all thinking that he is not aware of a flashbang. And I don't know if you know this, idiot. Flashbangs are meant to disorient you. That's their whole purpose. And so the man is on the floor dying, and he says, please don't hurt my son. Please, please don't hurt my son. That's the last thing his son hears as his father's killed.
Jesus.
And look, I'll be honest with you, right? My father, I never knew the man because he died when I was 2. But my father was a police officer, and my father was my mom always said of him, he was a very unique man, but one thing that all of his ex-wives could agree on, and my dad had 6 ex-wives.
Wow.
I know, he fucking, a girl says hi, he's in love, She says hi, he says, will you marry me? And then weirdly, 6 of them did. 7, I guess, with my mom.
I just the one thing all of his ex-wives can agree on is a great intro to any sentence.
The one thing that all of his that 6 of his ex-wives can agree on is that my dad was actually a really good cop, right? He was a good beat cop. He was in there he was in and out before things became hyper militarized. He was actually on a most wanted list by the Hell's Angels. In fact,
what?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. That was my dad, Officer Rose, right? And even more, the reason that I was able to pay for college was because my dad was a cop. and the police department took care of one of their own, even though he had been dead for 16 years before I asked. Right. So I don't say this as somebody who has, by nature, an adversarial relationship with a police department.
Right.
I have actually been fortunate. My mom was taken care of by a police department. You know, they continue to pay her for being married to my father for 2 years. You know, they have taken very good care of the Roses, but that does not excuse all the shit that's happened. Not at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, it's such a fucking cliche now, this like, oh, it's just a few bad apples, it's a few bad apples. But the rest of that phrase is a few bad apples spoil the barrel. Meaning there are no good cops if there are any bad cops. And there are a fuck lot of bad cops.
Oh, that is such a good point. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about the continuation of that phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, it spoils the bunch.
Yeah. And I mean, it's true. Like these bad apples, if you want to call them that, or cops, if you want to be honest about what they are, because that's what they're being trained to do. They are being trained to kill. That's what being a cop is now, regardless of what we want to think it is or what we want to think it should be. Like, the fact of the matter is we are training people to go out and kill their neighbors and the people they're supposed to be protecting.
And you know, and here's the thing, right? Is that for once, public opinion is on the side of Black Lives Matter ever since the movement started in 2014, you know. Yeah, especially
fucking time.
White people tended to be, you know, more reticent, as white people tend to be when it comes to matters of race, right? Yeah. However, I think the George Floyd killing, murder, really put it on Front Street. And one of the things that really kind of caught me off guard, but I guess I shouldn't have been, was that somebody, a high school acquaintance of mine, shared this meme about, like, you know, here's a white man who was killed by the police, but nobody's talking about that. I looked into it, right? That person's name is Tony Timpa, and they're trying to do a compare and contrast. You know, like why didn't the world go crazy for Tony Timpa? Hey,
it's reverse racism. Nobody cares about the white guy. Maybe.
Yeah, and it's just like, and it's like, well, first off, there isn't any video. The only video that we have is from that was forced by the court to. The police department was forced by the court to release the body cam footage. And what did you see? You saw this man, and let's all get on the same page here. Tony Timpa was a man with schizophrenia and depression, and he called the police because he had neglected to take his pills. He had neglected to take his medication, and he was afraid for himself. And he decided to put his trust in the people that we are told to trust when we are afraid, which is the police, right? That is our one person to trust. So he calls them, telling them, hey, I am somebody with schizophrenia and depression. I did not take my medication. I am afraid about what I may do to myself. So can I please have officers here to help me? And they responded, and they pushed him on the ground. They slowly killed this man. You know, they same thing as George Floyd, and they mocked him as he was dying. And here's the thing about police brutality. It's not a competition, right? Like,
right.
I am as equally outraged by what happened to Tony Timpa as I am about what happened to George Floyd. I will say this, there are many more George Floyds than Tony Timpas. That's just, if you look at the statistics, on police violence against races, although I think black people make up, I saw this, it was like make up 20% of the population. They make up 40% of the violence, right?
And I think 75% of the incarcerated population. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's a whole nother. But no, you're absolutely right. Like, not. I mean, yes, cops kill white people too. Fucking duh. But there are also black people with mental illness that get killed, in addition to the black people who are killed for selling loose cigarettes or passing a bad 20, in addition to the people who are killed for hanging out in their own apartment, sleeping in their own bed. So, yeah, that's the bigger problem right now. And it's fucking awful that anyone is dying at the hands of the cops. That's what we're trying to stop. That's what we need to stop. But there's also this big problem of cops, like, hunting black people down in the streets and looking for reasons to fuck them up and kill them. That...
Oh, yes. Stop and frisk.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Bloomberg, for that. Asshole. Little fucking Keebler troll. It's disgusting. I hate that guy.
I hate those cookies.
No, the cookies suck. I'm taking a stand. The cookies are gross.
Oh, shit. Hot take. No, I hate those cookies.
We just like them because that's what we had in childhood and we didn't know any better.
Oh, shit. I feel personally attacked.
My father was a Keebler.
So, and I know this is really heavy, and I know, and like, I get it, a lot of stuff is happening out there, and like, maybe you're looking at, two people whom you've only known in a fantasy context to, take you away to Fantasyland. And like, look, I would love nothing more than to like escape. But unfortunately, based on how the world is right now, like, I just can't do it. Like, I keep trying to like play a video game, but then I just think about what's happening in the world, and I can't fucking go. I can't give myself to fiction because the real world needs me right now. And that's no shade against people who can like get away. I think it's really good for your mental health to like not be inundated with this stuff all the time. But what I am trying to say is that important things are happening right now. We are seeing the breakdown of institutions which we were raised to believe would keep us safe. We were caught flat-footed with the COVID-19, and 100 and I think 6,000 Americans have died from it, right? And more people are getting sick because since we had such a piss-poor response to it at the start, we actually our economy suffered, and not that was the most important thing, but
it plays a part.
Yeah, because people need to eat, right?
Yeah.
And our economy suffered, and the cases are growing, and I don't think we can actually go through another lockdown, right? I just don't think it's feasible. And people are literally risking their lives to speak out against this.
Yeah. Not just and not just from COVID and not just from the cops, but all of it. All of it. And see, this is the thing. This is what they fucked up in Washington. They were so fucking focused on making it so fucking clear that they didn't give a shit about us. And they took it too far. They took it too far. Because had they given just a little bit more of it, like half a shit more than they gave, right? If they had sent out 3 months worth of payments instead of 1, if they had done just a little bit more to mitigate the crisis so that people weren't locked down, I'm not 100% sure that this would be happening the way it is. I think it would still be happening. I think people would still be outraged and upset and protesting in the streets. I don't know if they would have been outraged and upset and protesting for, what are we on, day 14? 15?
Yeah, I think 15.
Yeah. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of protests. When has that ever happened in our living memory? Like, there is nothing this fucking country has agreed on so much for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's because people have nothing left to lose. And they have nothing to do. Like,
there are
of
no
course you're going to go
distractions.
protest. It gets you out of the fucking house, if nothing else. Like, people have nothing more to do than watch the news and digest how just wretched this all is and how awful it is. And now they have a way to express their anger. And I'm hoping that anger will carry us through to a better country. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping they burn down the White House, because that would be fucking awesome.
Well, the Canadians already did it, so it's time for an American too, I think.
Was it the Canadians? I thought it was the English. Maybe the English
Nope.
did too. It was the Canadians.
Yeah, I just know the Canadians doing it because they were sick of our shit.
Wow. They have been really patient with us since then.
Oh, God, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's... I think you make a lot of good points there. And I think we are in the unique position, at least Sadie is. I'm not in Seattle anymore. That she has actually she knows people who have been to Chaz, and if you don't know what Chaz is the
Capitol
community...
Hill Autonomous Zone, I believe.
Boy, I'm so glad you jumped in there, like, because I was gonna go community house auto zone.
Yeah. You know, I'm really working on interrupting less and listening more. Still not very good at it. Yeah.
And despite what you may hear from whatever your news source may be, things are not dire there. There are not armed people patrolling the streets. I mean, we have that in cops, but they are not doing that in Chaz. I saw the one person ask, like, how are they affording this nice sign? It's like, well, they have a donation center. You can donate money to the autonomous zone. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And people value it enough that they put money there, and they have used the money that the community has given to them to buy a sign to outline their demands. Crazy, right? Like direct,
bizarre.
it's like direct, like direct community action.
Yeah,
Fuck.
direct mutual aid.
It's like, where did somebody at least get some pork off of that? You know, like,
yeah. Where's the middleman in this? I don't understand. As a capitalist, I don't understand how this works.
where's the bridge to nowhere? Oh, I guess that's the West Seattle Bridge.
Oh no! Oh, it hurts so bad. Oh.
You guys, your bridge is bad, man.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It was like the stay-at-home order came down, and then like a couple days later, they were like, "Oh, the bridge is fucked too. So everybody stay home. West Seattle, you definitely stay home. You stay home more."
Hey, not for nothing, but you may hear some explosions on this bridge, and you may feel yourself listing towards the Pacific Ocean. Don't look.
Everything's fine.
Trust
Move along,
us.
citizen.
Trust us, the city of Seattle.
Yeah.
But
As like a mushroom cloud balloons in the background. Everything's fine.
it's better than fine.
This is for your own good.
Oh, that's weird. I feel a sea breeze. Oh, that'd be like.
Is that Hey guys, come here. Is the skyline receding? Are we floating away? Did they cut us off? They cut us off, God damn it.
That's just what happens to skylines when they get to be a certain age. It gets a little bit harder to be seen. But the thing about Chaz, right, they make their list of demands, and actually, I don't know if you know about this, Sadie. There's this thing called Join Campaign Zero, where they where they have looked at the data for police. They have looked at the data for policing, and they have identified 10 separate things that have a dramatic effect on police brutality. Would you like to hear what some of them are?
I'm guessing the number one constant in police brutality is the police. I'm just gonna go ahead and say top one. That's my guess. I'm gonna point to the outfield.
Big money, big money, big money. Yes, policing is police are the number one cause of police brutality. But what they say, right, is the things that have the most dramatic effect, is one, end broken windows policing. And what is broken windows policing?
You want to take this one, or should I?
Yeah. Just to make it it is a what do you call it? It is a high prioritization on low-level offenses. Yeah. Right? So they just go real ham on hey, you're intoxicated. Hey, you're loitering, idiot.
Yeah. Based on the premise, and this is where the name comes from, that if somebody is traveling through a neighborhood or whatever, and they see a broken window in a house, they're going to do more crime because the neighborhood looks shitty. And so, and I mean, this is a simplistic explanation, but this is at the heart of it, is that broken windows lead to more broken windows, which leads to more crime. Therefore, if you stamp it out at the low level, then the higher level crimes, I guess drug dealing or whatever, won't happen? ? And what's weird about that is that if you continue to think of crime as a hierarchy, right, as an upward slope, there comes a point where I feel like they don't believe in broken window policing anymore, or else they are taking a really fucked up circuitous route to try and stop the Enron guys. That is a long way to go to take down the people who are actually looting this country.
It's like the butterfly effect of criminal justice.
Yeah, if you get a butterfly hooked on crack, then 300 years in the future, I don't know how that sentence ends.
Well, yeah, if you bust a butterfly who was high on crack, that eventually, through circuitous means, stops the next robber baron from stealing Alaska's oil reserves, something like that.
Something like that. But that's the thing; they don't really think of that crime as crime. I mean, that's why it's called white collar crime, right? It's a special, different, it's a gentler kind of crime.
Yeah, it just hits you it just hits people in their pocketbooks. That's fine.
Yeah. That's not a major motivator for rich people or anything.
Yeah, it's not
so why would it matter to poor people?
Yeah, it's not like lives are ruined when money is taken away from them.
Yeah, no. If 2008 taught us anything, it's that money doesn't matter at all. We should do just fine without it.
If 2008 has taught us anything, it's that the American public says no to money. We don't need any more. They said.
No thank.
My bank? No thank.
No thank.
You? My bank, I don't want it.
My cash, I don't want it.
Number 2 is community oversight. Makes sense. Strangely enough, right before all of this happened, Seattle was trying to get out of its federal oversight of their historically corrupt police department.
Oh, that can't be bad. Question mark?
But now, because of everything that's happened, they said, "Well, we'll rescind our application to not have federal oversight." Oh, good.
Good.
You know.
Well, that really feels like literally the least you could do. Thank you. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Mayor Jenny.
Number 3, limit the use of force, i.e., ban chokeholds. Oh.
Here's the weird thing. Those are already banned. And strangely, yet, they keep happening. It's weird. It's almost like the rules don't fucking matter.
Yeah, it's
Not that I feel any particular way about that, but you know.
You read as like emotionally neutral on that. 4, independently investigate and prosecute, which means, hey, I know that there's internal affairs. What they do is try to find a way to mitigate the damage for themselves. That's the entire thing. That's you have let the watchmen watch the watchmen. You know, that's not fucking great.
But who watches the Watchmen watchers?
Who? Number 5, community representation. They actually found that there has been a decrease. There is a marked decrease in the amount of police brutality on communities of color if the police force reaches 35% representation. So you just need 35% of the police force to be black or brown, and like they become less racist. So
wow,
fucking weird.
It's almost like there's a connection between knowing people of color and not believing stupid things about them.
Yeah, it's like if you know them, they can't be that much of an other. That's weird.
Strange. Bizarre. I'm sure scientists will study this for years to come.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be a bill introduced that won't get passed.
Yep.
No, I think that might be changing.
I hope so.
6, body cams film the police. We have seen what that has done.
Yeah.
Not the body cams. Body cams itself don't really, because cops can monkey.
They can turn them off.
But
It's
having
the
the
thing,
community. That's such a big thing, though. Is the thing, though.
It's like, it turns out the camera doesn't work if it's off.
But civilians filming the police, now we're onto something. Better training. Actually, there's this thing. This would be a resource that I would suggest to the audience. Is there's this channel called Bow of the Fifth Pillar. Oh, damn it. Bo,
can't even interrupt to help you out this time. I'm just interrupting to tell you I can't help.
Bo of the Fifth Column, right?
Okay.
And he's the guy that I sent the video to you about why he loved MAGA hats.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Yes, that guy's amazing.
So he has this really interesting video because he was in the military and he was a police trainer, right? And what he found was he goes through like how police violence can happen because the people that he trained before he trained them and people who have reached out to him since he's retired from that line of business don't know basic things that they really should. They have all this really great tech, right? They have this military tech and they love it. They feel like a man, you know. But they don't know how to fucking use it. They don't understand that, like, if you throw a flashbang at somebody, and they get disoriented, like, they can't immediately follow your command to get on the ground, right? Because they're by nature of the thing that you have done to them, they can't fucking put it together. You have disoriented them and then punished them for being disoriented by shooting them, right?
Yeah.
That's a zero-win proposition. There is no way in that game, you cannot win. So he talks about like how they don't understand that, and he talked about like I would just highly recommend it. I'll actually send the video to you, Sadie, if you want to include it in the notes. He talks about police training and things that he was surprised that they didn't know, and he talks about how militarization is one of the most harmful things, which has proved to be, and that is actually number 9 on the campaign 0, which is that militarization of the police. It is that funny expression, which is, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you have a tank, everyone looks like an insurgent.
Yep. If you have a gun, everyone looks like a target.
I have a giant pumpkin head target, like just sitting on top of my shoulders, just like a giant.
Your head is abnormally large.
It's still surprising at like 35 years in. Like, I'm still just like, man, that's a lot of head. That's abnormal how much that is. Like, it is like one of those things where, like, I bought some new glasses and I had to go to the wide department. I'm like, oh, this feels bad inside. Like, it's like normal. It's like normal pinches. I need the wides.
It's like husky jeans for your face.
Which is weird because, like, I'm a fairly slender guy, but like,
because it all went to your head.
Why is that the one thing that went to my head? Like, why wasn't it brains? Like Travi, my little brother said I look like a lollipop. Number 8, end for-profit policing. The fact that there is a financial motivator for people to go to prison is horrific.
Putting more people in prison, weirdly.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
It's like you find a way to make profit. If you make money by getting people into your prison, you weirdly find ways to maximize that.
Yeah.
Well, and
here's the thing.
go for it.
About prisons really quick. So once they're in prison, then major corporations get their labor for free. Like, this is the loophole in the 13th Amendment, the one that abolished slavery. Is it abolished slavery except for people who are sent to prison. They can quite literally still be slaves. They can be expected to labor for no recompense or very little recompense. And a lot of times end up in more debt when they get out than when they went in. So when people say that America is a country that is built on slavery, that's literal. That's literal and that's present. That is not just like, a lot of white people made a lot of money making black people pick cotton. It's like, no, a lot of white people are still making a lot of money by making black people pick cotton. So I will also include a link to a very excellent list of companies that profit off of prison labor. And I would very much recommend people take a look at that and think about some of the retail choices. Nintendo is on that list, which is very upsetting, and I still need to figure out what to do about that.
Yeah, I mean, because it's also Sony and Microsoft are also there, right?
Oh yeah, Microsoft's a big one. A pharmaceutical company that makes vaccines.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, the funny thing about them is I actually got wined and dined by them way back.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Because I had access to physicians, oncology physicians as part of my job, and they wanted access to the doctors that I had access to, so they would take me out to lovely lunches and expensive dinners.
That sounds great.
Did I give them any of that access? No, but I
Of
did take
course
the
not.
lunch. I did take the lunch and dinners. I'll tell you that
Dude,
much.
fucking take all of it. Call it reparations. Fucking A.
Yeah, what is it? Take from them everything, leave for them nothing.
Yes.
And then the final one, which is like the biggest bugaboo, which has a turnaround time of like 2 to 4 years, is fair police union contracts. The reason that it is so that the problem with policing and the reason they have been able to resist change for so long is because the city governments have made contracts with the police unions for years, and it is because of where we were in the late 80s and 90s about law and order as the cause celeb during that time. Fucking they made out like bandits, and it's always been a loser of a political issue to redress or try to not pay the police as much or give them as favorable a contract.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting that in a country that is as
Famously
openly
hostile.
and brazenly anti-union as this one, somehow, the police unions have figured it out. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's it's ridiculous that they're the one union that keeps on getting fatter and fatter while the rest of the people get poorer and poorer.
Yeah. Well, it's the one union that's been able to capitalize on racism. Like the teachers' unions in Chicago's were fighting against that. They were fighting to keep black teachers in black schools. They were fighting to keep black students performing and coming to school and doing well. I could go on and on about this. I just read about it.
No.
In a very pro-union book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there's Jane McAlevey in her book No Shortcuts, Organizing for Power in the New Gilded Age. Excellent book. One of the case studies that she puts forward is the Chicago police or Chicago teachers strikes back in the, I want to say, early 2000s. It was not that long ago. It was when Rahm Emanuel was mayor.
Oh wow. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're talking like 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
God, that feels so long ago.
Doesn't it? January feels that long ago also, to be fair.
I mean, like, May, middle of May feels like some half-remembered dream at this point.
Jesus.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's been strange. I've been watching myself, like, go progressively more gray this year. And I'm like,
man.
This makes sense. Like, this feels spiritually right. Like,
yeah, this tracks.
yeah. I mean, like, fucking, thankfully, thankfully the air fryer hasn't mentioned it, which is really nice.
No, just wait. They'll turn on you.
Yeah, but everything turns on me. But yeah, we wanted to do this because, as we've said before, as Sadie said at the top, like this podcast is still open. It is just that considering the way that the world is right now, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable trying to play make-believe right now. And that isn't to take away from people who are doing that, who are doing excellent D&D podcasts or, just role-playing game podcasts. That's no shade at them. That is fantastic that they are able to do it. Me, like I said earlier, I have been having a lot of trouble trying to, like, get out of the situation. My brain just keeps on snapping back. Like, I don't get any sort of real relief. So I'm not comfortable, trying to do that right now. But I am comfortable talking to my best friend, and it's, and I'm glad to have talked to you all about what's going on now. And I do hope that we all get through this, you know.
We will. One way or another. We'll make it through. I can't tell you what's waiting on the other side, but we'll get there.
But I'm Elliot Rose. Thank you for listening.
And I'm Elliot Rose. Thanks for listening.